Penguins and the Flyers. Battle of Pennsylvania time. You know what that means, Penguins Nation? It means it's go time. The Battle of Pennsylvania Home and Home Series, Part 1 of 2, starts right now. Let's get rolling. You're locked in to Penguins Hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Shooty scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Penguins and the Flyers. Penguins drop 6-1 to the Flyers. They'll do it all again tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. But this is Penguins postgame. It's the Battle of Pennsylvania. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Penguins postgame here on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. My name is Scott McGregor. It is time to get down to the nitty-gritty. John Tortorella versus Mike Sullivan. We'll save that in the next program because we're just going to get right into the goaltending matchup in the next program on our surprise Penguins postgame show, episode 5 of season 4. That will be a surprise Penguins postgame show, and fitting that it is another Battle of Pennsylvania. Welcome in, Penguins fans. Welcome in, Flyers fans, to Penguins postgame. Penguins drop to the Flyers 6-1. Head coaches up, and out of the way. We'll get to the goaltending matchup in just a moment. Before we do, a quick disclaimer for the play of the game coming up later in the show. On our latest recording of the Rangers game, we played some audio for you. It didn't have the audio for you, but we did play the play of the game. So I have actually figured out my mistake on that. So we will not be doing that again. But I will, if I do show the play of the game in audio format, I will try my best to describe the play as it goes on. With that being said, this opening segment is all about the head coaches and the goaltending matchup. So let's get right down to business, shall we? I think we shall. Let's get down to business and give you the goaltending matchup for this one. And I'll provide it via my notes as well. But here we go. Here's your goaltending matchup, as you can see on our shared screen. We got ourselves Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedorov for the Philadelphia Flyers. Samuel Ersson making the start for the Philadelphia Flyers. Ivan Fedorov getting the start for the
looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Matter with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show, And to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
My apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the dispatcher there. What I was trying to say was our goaltending matchup. Now that we got our head coaches out of the way, our head coaching matchup is John Tortorella versus Mike Sullivan, head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, the head coach of the head coach of our opponent is John Tortorella. Tortorella is the head coach of the one and only, yes, I say one and only, Philadelphia Flyers. And again, this is the Battle of Pennsylvania. So a lot of action coming your way, I should say, as we roll in with this show here. It is the Battle of Pennsylvania. And that wraps up. The Battle of Pennsylvania wraps up. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. The Battle of oh, there we go. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. The Battle of Pennsylvania will wrap up on Thursday. That's an episode of Season 4. It'll be our fifth episode, of the fourth season. What a way to kick off the new season of Sports for Beginners with a post-game show. Anywho, enough of this. Samuel Ersson, the start for the one and only Philadelphia Flyers. He will have the start for the Philadelphia Flyers. Start for the starter for the Penguins is none other than Alex Nedeljkovic. Nedeljkovic getting the start for the Penguins in this one. Joel Blomqvist picking up Nedeljkovic in at backup. Ivan Fedorov picking up Samuel Ersson in backup if needed. Okay, I think since we had some time to kill here as we were trying to figure things out on our head coaches and goaltending matchup, I think since we have some time to kill here in our, I guess you could say this is take 2, but regardless, since we had the time to kill there, I think we should not waste any time. Let's get right to it. So here we go. We're going to share the screen one more time. It's time to get down to business. Let's break this game down. Penguins and the Flyers from Wells Fargo Center. The referees and lines person for officials in this one, they are as follows. We got Shandor Alfonso. We got ourselves Tyson Baker, Gord Delwire, and Mitch Denning. In at referees, lines person are Shandor Alfonso and Tyson Baker. So with that all said and done, let's get to it. Let's come back over here to our scoring. We're going to start there in the scoring. I'll provide you with the shots on goal per period over the course of the show. But let's jump right to it. We'll start with our scoring. We'll get to penalties later. And that will also be when we start providing you with the shots on goal by period. Flyers getting the party started in Philadelphia with a little home cooking. Rasmus Ristolainen picking up his 4th goal of the season. Igor Zamala picking up his 10th assist of the season. Matevej Mitrovic picking up his 23rd assist of the season. 3 minutes and 56 seconds in, the Philadelphia Flyers answer the bell with the first goal of the game. A little later, at 12 minutes and 19 seconds in, Noah Cates, his 11th goal of the season, one of 2 goals he scored in this hockey game. Bobby Brink picking up his 17th assist of the season, one of 3 assists he had in the hockey game. And on the assist for this one as well, Jacob Pelletieri picking up his 8th assist of the season. 2-0 Flyers after 20 minutes of play. Second period rolls in. Here we go. Penguins down by 1. Not anymore. 6 minutes and 9 seconds in, the Penguins get on the board. Time for the Penguins to get in on this. And they do so as Philip Tomasino gets the Penguins on the board. It's his 8th goal of the season. Michael Bunting with his 15th assist of the season. Christopher Letang, who took a penalty in the second period, early in the second period. We'll get to that when we get to penalties in a little bit. On the assist as well, he had the secondary assist, his 14th of the year. Penguins down by a goal. It's 2-1. 6 minutes and 9 seconds into the second period. Penguins were down by 2 at the end of one period. Now they're only down by a goal, but will it last? The answer is no. Tyson Forster quickly sizes up the situation and makes it 3-1 Philadelphia with his 16th goal of the season. And we will see Jamie Drysdale pick up his 11th assist of the season. And Bobby Brink, his 2nd assist of the night, 18th of the season. He picked up an assist on one of the Flyers' goals in the first period. He picks up his 18th assist of the season and 2nd of the game. In the second period, with a assist on the Tyson Forster goal. Speaking of Tyson, that made it 3-1 Flyers at the 11-minute and 55-second mark of the period. Tyson with his 16th goal, of the season. Only 1 goal he scored in the game on Tuesday night. Noah Cates, however, scored twice. He scored in the first period, and then he scores again here in the second period. His 12th goal of the season, 2nd goal of the game. And speaking of seconds, speaking of seconds, let's go to speaking of thirds. Because Bobby Brink, once again, in on the assist. He picks up assist number 19 on the season, his 3rd in the hockey game. Tyson Forster picks up his first of 2 assists that he would have in the game, as he did not get an assist in the Owen Tippett goal later in the third period. We'll get to that in a second. But he picks up his 11th assist, his first of 2, at the 18 minutes and 55-second mark. But the Flyers are not done yet. It's 4-1. Let's make it 5-1. It's a 4-point lead. It's a 4-point lead for the Penguins to come back from at the end of 40 minutes of play. But before we get to that point of play, the Penguins got to go to battle trying to recover from 2 goals in 10 seconds as Bobby Brink, Noah Cates, and Tyson himself are back at it. Tyson with his 2nd assist of the day, 12th of the season. Noah Cates with his 13th of the season, 13th assist of the season. And Cates, without an assist yet in the game, picks up one on the Bobby Brink goal. Also only picked up 1 assist in this hockey game. That is his 13th of the season. Bobby Brink hasn't scored a goal yet. He scores in the second period, so it's his only goal of the game. 8th goal of the season for Bobby Brink. And just like that, from 2-1 to 5-1 in a span of 10 seconds after, it became 3-1, and the Penguins down by a score of 5-1. They're down by 4. Third period rolls around, and Owen Tippett is on the scene. He scores Philadelphia's 6th goal of the game, his 17th goal of the season. Sean Couturier goes into the mix with his 20th assist of the season. Matej Mitrovic picking up his 24th assist of the season. 6 minutes and 6 seconds in, and the Flyers would hang on to beat the Penguins 6-1. I'll bring up the penalties in just a second here. But that is going to take us from head coaches. That's going to take us from our head coaches, John Tortorella and Mike Sullivan. Of course, our goaltending matchup as well. That's going to take us well into the game summary, period by period. When we come back after the first commercial break of the program, it's time to get into the stats of the game. How did the Penguins and Flyers do in the shots on goal for the game? What were the face-offs? What were the other stats after the game? Stick around. The Battle of Pennsylvania is live and in living color on Sports for Beginners, and continues talking penalties, stats, and 3 stars when Penguins postgame will continue with the Battle of Pennsylvania. Our Thursday recap of Penguins and Flyers, by the way, will be episode 5 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. But to get there, we got to wrap this one up. And we'll get there with still to come the next 5 for Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, the shake of the game, and of course, game puck of the game as well. And I want to take a look at Tuesday's action. All that still to come. But the 3 stars, penalties, and stats are next when we continue on Penguins Postgame. Stick with us.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Oh, that could have been embarrassing. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Penguins Postgame. Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers knock off the Penguins 6-1, our final score from Tuesday night. It's about time we check in on our penalties. I have them also on my notes and via the NHL app, but we will utilize the NHL app to give us our stats for the game as well. So with that all said and done, let's jump right in with both feet as this Penguins post-game show continues to our penalties, starting like we did in the scoring portion of the show after the head coaches, which again are John Tortorella and Mike Sullivan. And of course, our goaltending matchup, Alex Nedeljkovic versus the one and only, and I say one and only, Samuel Ersson. The first penalty of the game went to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it went to Anthony Buvarelli, 2 minutes for high sticking against Cam York at 6 minutes and 48 seconds. After that first period, the Penguins were trailing 15-6 in the shots on goal. So they were being outshot by Philadelphia 15-6 after one period of play. In the second period, the Penguins, they do get on the board, but not till after they cause a penalty that takes them to their second penalty kill of the evening. Christopher Letang goes to the box for a cross-checking minor against Tyson Forrester. 37 seconds into the second period. And as a result, the Flyers have got the game's first 2 power plays of the game. They would get a third in the third period. They would get a third power play in the third period. The Penguins would only get 2 power plays. Their first would come in the second period, as they would go on the power play after Garnett Hathaway got nabbed for interference 8 minutes and 5 seconds into the second period. So Anthony Buvarelli gets called for high sticking at 6 minutes and 48 seconds against Cam York in the first period, the only penalty to be tallied in the first period. In the second period, a penalty to a side. First, Christopher Letang at 37 seconds in. Then at the 8 minutes and 5-second mark, Garnet Hathaway is called for interference and gives Pittsburgh their first power play of the game. Third period we go. Of course, our shots on goal for the game. For the game, the shots on goal for the game were 29-16. After 2 periods of play, 10-14. Not heavily out shooting the Penguins in that period, 14-10, excuse me. But the Flyers are still out shooting the Penguins for the hockey game, 29-16. And things continue to get a bit interesting for the Penguins, but due to penalties that were taken in this game, including this penalty 16 seconds in, which the old 2-9er Phil Borg, who had the call with Joe Brand, was not a happy camper of. I wasn't as well. This is just a bad time to take a penalty, in my opinion. A bad time. And I know that Phil Borg on the old 2-9er of Pittsburgh would agree with me. This is just a bad time to take a penalty. At the fact that you're down 5-1, this is a very bad time to take a penalty. That early in the contest, 16 seconds in, Brian Rust is called for holding against guess who is dragging the penalty. Guess who is doing the penalty? Cam York is drawing the penalty again. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness me. Have no fear, Pittsburgh. Penalty kills have been great all game. Let's see if it continues when the Flyers go on the penalty kill. 3 minutes and 47 seconds later, Nick Seeler picking up a hooking minor. And who should be the man to draw this penalty for Pittsburgh but number 71, Gino Machino, Evgeny Malkin picking up the penalty for Nick Seeler. Hooking is the call, and that's all she wrote. Speaking of all she wrote, that is going to bring us to the stats of the game. And here we go. After the third period of play, shots were 9-8 in favor of the Flyers. So both periods, all 3 periods, all in favor of the Flyers. A little bit interesting in the middle frame of the game, second period. But things get even more interesting at the end of regulation. 9-8, the shot total after regulation. But the Philadelphia Flyers outshoot the Penguins 38-24 in the shot totals. Let's talk face-offs. Penguins winning 30 out of 55 of the face-offs in the game on Tuesday night. Just about winning 55% of their face-offs, winning 30 out of 55. Out of 55 for the Flyers winning just about 46% of their face-offs, winning 25 out of the 55 face-offs they had. Power plays, non-existent. 0 for 2 for the Penguins. 0 for 3 for the Flyers on the power play, which means the penalty kill for Pittsburgh was a perfect 3 for 3. And the penalty kill for the Flyers is a perfect 2-for-2 on the evening at Wells Fargo Center. Penalty minutes, 6 for the Penguins, 4 for the Flyers. The Flyers were out-hit 19-14 by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And blocked shots, well, the Flyers kind of had the upper hand there, 15-9 in the blocked shots category. Penguins, well, they don't really have the upper hand there, but basically it was 20-14, more giveaways for the Penguins than the Flyers had. Flyers finished with 14, Penguins finished with 20. So that would be a lot of turnovers by the Penguins in that game on Tuesday night. A lot that they got to clean up on that one. 4 takeaways each for the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And with that, that will bring us to the 3 stars of the game. I'm going to share the screen again, even though I have it as well. I have it as well here for our viewing eyes on, well, not our viewing eyes, but you'll see them when I share the screen here. But for our viewing eyes, I also have them on the app of the NHL. Again, download the NHL app for yourself to follow your favorite team all season long. 3 stars will take us into the next commercial break. And here they are. They are brought to you on the Penguins Radio Network. Disclaimer, we are not sponsored by this sponsor, but they are brought to you on the Penguins Radio Network. Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now that's a powerhouse lineup. Ford and the Pens, Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. On Tuesday night, the story was Philadelphia. And given that Bobby Brink got 4 points in this game, as the Flyers are able to cruise past the Penguins and for their 3rd straight win, looking to make it a 4th straight win, and win the season series, as they have a 2-1 lead in the season series. We'll find out whether this season series has a winner or has a tie on Thursday in Pittsburgh. Recording will come your way on Friday, but we'll get to all of that later. Your 3 stars, your 3rd star was Tyson Forrester. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. Your 2nd star, the aforementioned Noah Cates. 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. And the 1st star is Bobby Brink with 3 assists, 1 goal, and 4 points on the game. Have a difference in opinion on that? Go ahead and find us at Penguins Postgame Show Interactions on our Discord server. You can see the link up here now on our screen. You may not be able to see it when we actually show it to you, but that's okay. The Penguins Postgame Show Interactions is our Discord link to all things Pittsburgh Penguins. 3 stars of the game, play of the game, shake of the game, and game puck of the game, etc. With that all being said, that'll do it for the shared screen for a little bit. When we come back to Penguins postgame, it's time for the play of the game. We'll take a look at Tuesday's action and set you up for the game puck of the game, given that this is a special show on our Penguins post-game coverage. We will set you up for the game puck of the game later, following it will be the next 5 games of the season for Pittsburgh and Philadelphia following their clash on Thursday night. So those games plus the game itself coming up on Thursday night. And of course, we'll get to the shake of the game to set that all up after the play of the game, which comes your way next, followed by a look at Tuesday night's contest action, all when Penguins postgame, Battle of Pennsylvania continues on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. You're listening to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, and streaming every Wednesday off day this season and seasons prior as part of Penguins Wednesday Hockey, only on the ice and behind the benches. Back with more in a moment.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Back here on Penguins postgame, Penguins and the Flyers. Penguins drop 6-1 to the Flyers. Coaches out of the way, goaltending matchup out of the way. Of course, we've gone through our scoring, went through penalties, went through the stats, yada, yada, yada. Time now to get to the play of the game. That, of course, disclaimer, not sponsored by it. It's for the Penguins Radio Network. The sponsor is, of course, the one and only Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Sponsors can be coming down the road. But that means it is time, not really for a shared screen, because I mentioned we probably won't do that. But it is time for our play of the game. But why jump there? Why jump to the play of the game when we could first take a look at the action from Tuesday? I don't know about you, but I'd say let's go ahead and take a look at the action from Tuesday. Penguins Nation and Flyers Nation. Of course, we'll leave out our game because that's the one we're recapping. So let's go ahead and do that now. Here we go with our action from Tuesday night. And I might add in some action from Monday night, not Monday night. I meant to say Wednesday night, which is going on right now at the time of our recording for a Tuesday matchup. All things considered. Here we go with our matchups. As you're probably aware on the ice and behind the benches, we're hearing the matchup of the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was quite the battle for the Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins, but Boston comes up short and falls 5-4 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, the Buffalo Sabres pick up a dub. They beat the Anaheim Ducks 3-2. In Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens shut out the Carolina Hurricanes. They knock off the Hurricanes 4-0. Keep your eye on him. Keep your eye on him, Penguins. Keep your eye on him, hockey fans, I should say. Alexander Ovechkin scores the only goal in a 3-1 loss to the Calgary Flames for the Washington Capitals. Off to Ohio we go, where the Columbus Blue Jackets take down the Dallas Stars 6-4. A bit of a somber note for those at MSG as they mourn the loss of a great man in Al Turdwick. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. But Penguin fans, stay with me because we know about this already. We're still grieving, or rather celebrating, the legacy of the late, great Mike Lang. Anyways, the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers were in battle. And we send our condolences to those who were Al's broadcasting family, his friends and family as well. We send our condolences and prayers to those families as well. Those who have honored this man for doing exactly what Mike Lang did before, be the voice of the New York Rangers, New York Yankees, and possibly the New York Islanders. On MSG, the Rangers take down the Islanders 5-1. Meanwhile, down in Tampa Bay, where the Blue Jays played an action game on Tuesday night, they played against the St. Louis Cardinals and won that game. They won that ball game. They lost, of course, today, but that's okay. Down in Tampa on Tuesday, those Oiler fans who were at a Blue Jay game, well, they got a show, but not really too much of a showing by the Oilers. Leon Draisaitl with the only goal as the Lightning take care of business against the Oilers 4-1. Elsewhere in St. Louis, the Blues were leading for the longest time 6-0. They knock off the Seattle Kraken 7-2. The Florida Panthers knock off the Nashville Predators 4-1. In Utah, the Hockey Club are able to knock off the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1. And down in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Minnesota Wild fall to the Detroit Red Wings, who are able to knock them off 3-2. That's our action from Tuesday night. I'd say it's about time to get to the play of the game, don't you? Don't you think so? I think so too. Let's get to the play of the game. Again, as mentioned off the top of this segment, that is brought to you by Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And with that being said, I got to go, for this one, I got to go with Noah Cates' second goal. Actually, let's go to the first goal. We're going to go with the first goal. The first goal for me really stands out as my play of the game. And part of the reason why is because if I remember correctly, I think this was off of a turnover. Then again, I was listening to the game on the Penguins radio network on Tuesday night. I wasn't actually watching the game from the TV side on Sportsnet Pittsburgh or from the Philadelphia side, which I might try. I might try in the next times that we do this. But regardless, Noah Cates' 11th goal of the season and first goal of the hockey game, which made it 2-0 at the end of the first period, is going to be good enough for my play of the game. And that brings us to our shake of the game. Now, what is going on with the shake of the game? Well, let me just point it out for you. That, of course, is a segment inspired, I should say. That, of course, is a sponsored version of the program. But all things considered, we have this shake of the game as our player of the game recognition segment, and this will set us up for Penguins Flyers on Thursday after the game puck of the game, and their next 5 games. All that still to come in just a moment or so. But with that all being said, the shake of the game is inspired by Jake Gensel and the Milkshake Factory ad he created that is now being run by Brian Rust. Whenever Brian Rust scores, Penguin fans receive half off Rusty shakes the next day at the Milkshake Factory, providing you the official milkshake of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And a reminder that we are not sponsored by the Milkshake Factory, but could be something coming down the road. With that all being said, because it's the Battle of Pennsylvania, and that is classified as a special program on Sports for Beginners for Penguins postgame, 2 players will be getting a shake of the game recipient. And for the duration of this, only 1 player out of 3 honorable mentions will be getting a game puck of the game. So with that all being said, the game puck of the game is coming up after the next commercial break. Also coming up after the next commercial break, which comes your way following the shake of the game as we wrap it up here, is our next 5 for Philadelphia, next 5 for Pittsburgh, as we prepare to set you up for episode 5 of season 4, a Penguins post-game show edition. What are the odds the Penguins are playing on Thursday, and we're going to get that to you for an episode on Friday. It might even drop on Saturday. Regardless, we're going to have a Penguins post-game show on Saturday anyways. Penguins battling the Bruins at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk about it all coming up later. But back to business, shake of the game time, which is the player of the game segment. Here we go. First up for the Pittsburgh Penguins are 2 recipients. We're going to give a pick-me-up shake of the game to Alex Nedeljkovic. 32 saves on 38 shots. 6 goals all given up at even strength. Save percentage at the end of the game of .842. 60 minutes played for Nedeljkovic. By far, I don't think it was a good game by Nedeljkovic, but don't let that scare him. And also, don't let that scare you, Pittsburgh fans. I feel like if we play our cards right, especially on Thursday night, if we play our cards right and literally just stay out of the penalty box, we will find a way to beat the Flyers on Thursday night. And I know that might put Flyers fans another way, but you know what? I'm sticking true to the Penguins because they are my team. And of course, Canadian Sidney Crosby is on the team as well. Speaking of whom, second shake of the game is going to go for the Penguins. That one is going to go to the goal scorer, Philip Tomasino. So you've got Nedeljkovic as a pick-me-up shake of the game, and Philip Tomasino for a great shake of the game. Honorable mentions to Evgeny Malkin, Christopher Letang, and we're going to go ahead and also give one to Sid. So between Malkin, Letang, and Crosby, one of those three men will get a game puck of the game, but we're out of fourth one there because I'm feeling given. And we're going to give an honorable mention to the former Maple Leaf, Michael Bunting. So between Bunting, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, one of those four is going to get the game puck of the game coming up in a little bit. On the Philadelphia Flyers side, we'll give them a 4-1-2 for honorable mentions, but their two shake of the game recipients will go to, first and foremost, goaltender Samuel Ersson. Good game by Samuel Ersson. 23 saves, 24 shots on goal. Against him, he made 23 saves, only gave up one goal at even strength, and one goal total. Finishes the game with a save percentage of .958, 60 minutes played on the ice. Next up, the next guy to get a shake of the game is going to be goal scorer Noah Cates. 2 goals, 3 points in the game, and only 1 assist. But you know what? I still thought Noah played really well. And with that, some honorable mentions for the Flyers are going to go out to Jamie Drysdale, Rasmus Ristolainen, a goal scorer, Owen Tippett, speaking of goal scorers, and we're also going to go ahead and give one out to Bobby Brink, who was fantastic. So Bobby Brink, Owen Tippett, Jamie Drysdale, and Rasmus Ristolainen are in the line for the game puck of the game coming up in a matter of moments. But as we take a break, you'll find out which one of those 4 for the Flyers, Ristolainen, Jamie Drysdale, Owen Tippett, and Bobby Brink, which one of those 4 will get it for the Flyers, and which one of the 4 for the Penguins between Bunting, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang will get the game puck of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Plus, it's time to send this show to the end of the show. We're going to get into what's next after this Battle of Pennsylvania wraps up. In our next 5, with the game puck of the game, and the next 5 for Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, including what's coming up after their matchup on Thursday. All of it coming up next on Penguins Postgame. Stick with us.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look at me! I am always happy. The only reason I can tell you, it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://sienna-t.wordpress.com/sienna-t-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Let's go. Back here on the Battle of Pennsylvania, back here on Sports for Beginners, back here on Penguins postgame. This is a show that comes your way on the ice and behind the benches every Wednesday off day. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. On the ice and behind the benches, Penguins Wednesday Hockey has a special Season 4 episode of Sports for Beginners exclusively streaming on the ice and behind the benches, and that is our Battle of Pennsylvania season series finale, which goes down on Thursday. Got a game puck of the game to get to, but first I want to take a look at some bucks and pucks. Now, what do I mean by bucks and pucks? Well, baseball season is here. So we're going to do a little interesting thing here that I kind of got the idea to try this out on a recent post I saw from Sportsnet Pittsburgh. All credit to Sportsnet Pittsburgh. I'm going to try to throw my own little spin on it. But what we're going to do with Bucks and Pucks is we're going to do a little Toronto sports action. Thomas had you covered for the Maple Leafs, which happened on Tuesday. I will talk a little bit about our action from the diamond and the court before we get down to the game puck of the game. And that should lead us to the next 5 games. But starting things off here, let's go to the diamond for a little Bucks and Pucks. Of course, Penguins and the Flyers are idle. They are idle right now until Thursday night in Pittsburgh. But that doesn't mean the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Philadelphia Phillies are idle, as the Philadelphia Phillies knock off the Toronto Blue Jays. I am a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, so Blue Jay fans, I'll give you the final score. I won't knock off or spoil anything else on that front, but I will say that the Philadelphia Phillies knock off the Blue Jays 9-6. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Pittsburgh side, the Pittsburgh Pirates are knocked off by the Atlanta Braves 9-4. And at the time of our recording, even though this is for a Tuesday program, let's continue on in the MLB for a second before we get to the one game of interest for Toronto fans in the NBA. Also in action today, the Cincinnati Reds took down the Los Angeles Angels 9-4. 9-3 the final, Dodgers over the Brewers. 9-3 the final, the Dodgers beat the Brewers 9-3. The Athletics defeated the Seattle Mariners 8-5. Arizona Diamondbacks victorious over the Brewers, as the Brewers were in a split squad game, and that means that 2 squads for Milwaukee are playing in 2 different games. So Milwaukee lost to the Dodgers 9-3. They also lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks 7-1. The Diamondbacks are not in a split squad game. However, the Pittsburgh Pirates are also in a split squad game. They lost 9-4 to the Braves, but beat the Orioles 7-3. The Boston Red Sox were knocked off by the Tampa Bay Rays 8-2. 4-0, the Twins beat the Tigers. 3-0, the Astros knock off the Nationals. And we also see a 4-1 final in favor of the Marlins over the Mets. The Cubs and Giants tie up at 4 apiece in the final score. 7-6 the final between the Royals and the Rockies. The Padres knock off the White Sox 3-1. And the Guardians are knocked off by the Rangers 7-4 in that one. Action for the Toronto sports fans on the basketball court, as you heard on Maple Leaf Post Recap. The Toronto Raptors fell to the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton 111-91. Philadelphia Phillies knock off the Blue Jays at the time of our recording for a Tuesday recap of Penguins and Flyers. The Philadelphia Phillies knocked off the Blue Jays 9-6. And with that said, that'll bring us to game puck of the game time. A reminder of who's at stake here to get a recipient. On the Philadelphia Flyers side, the recipients are Jamie Drysdale, Owen Tippett, and of course, Bobby Brink, and Rasmus Ristolainen. And our game puck of the game recipient for the Philadelphia Flyers is, surprise, surprise, it's going to go to goal scorer Rasmus Ristolainen. Between Tippett, Ristolainen, Jamie Drysdale, and Bobby Brink, it's going to go to Rasmus Ristolainen. He is going to go ahead and get our game puck of the game for the Philadelphia Flyers. The 4 people in the running for the Penguins game puck of the game are Christopher Letang, Evgeny Malkin, and Sidney Crosby, as well as Michael Bunting. And of those 4, the person receiving the game puck of the game on the Pittsburgh Penguins side, he did score an assist on the only Penguins goal. And I do think he had a nice game. Was it a great game by Christopher Letang? No, it was not by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to Christopher Letang. So Letang and Rasmus Ristolainen, your game puck of the game recipients for this game. This season series with the Penguins and Flyers wraps up tomorrow night, as we've been talking about over the course of our show, I should say. It wraps up tomorrow night. Philadelphia looking for their 4th straight win and a 3rd straight win against the Penguins in the season series against the Penguins, as the Battle of PA comes to an end in Pittsburgh tomorrow night. And you know what that means? It's time to preview the next 5. Let's start with, we're going to have, when we show the screen, we're going to have it on March 2025, but We know that for both of these squads, they'll do battle again tomorrow night. Game time change, it'll be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. So, with that all being said, we'll start off with the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll bring back the Penguins in a moment. Coming up for the Flyers after a showdown with the Pittsburgh Penguins this Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. They'll kick off their March schedule on the road to wrap up a current 3-game road trip, I believe, that's going down for Philadelphia. No, they're actually on a 2-game road trip that started against Pittsburgh, and they will be in action on Saturday against the Winnipeg Jets. A 2-game road trip for them comes to an end after the game in Pittsburgh, as they go toe-to-toe with the Winnipeg Jets at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then they're home for quite a number of games, but the notables that we were able to note down for the next 5, the Winnipeg Jets on March the 6th at 7 p.m. right after they get a visit from the Calgary Flames at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, March 4th at 7 p.m. And of course, on March the 8th, not March the 1st, Saturday, March the 1st, March the 8th, I should say, the Seattle Kraken are in town. And that's a pretty long stretch of home games for home cooking Flyers. We got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games for the Flyers at home coming up. But, of course, that 7-game homestand starts after the Battle of Pennsylvania wraps up and after the current road trip the Flyers are on comes to a close, which will come to a close on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And that, of course, will be against the Winnipeg Jets. They will face the Jets one more time, this time on a Thursday night on March the 6th. And then they go head-to-head with the Seattle Kraken. Meanwhile, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, the battle with Philly ends tomorrow. And that's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. It'll wrap up the Penguins' home and home series, but kickstart a short 3-game homestand where they will be back-to-back action Saturday and Sunday. You'd like to think that Penguins postgame and Maple Leaf post recap will be on the air together. Well, I've got news for you. That just might be the case, but I don't want to spoil anything. Anywho, first we got to go to Boston. Sorry, Boston's got to come to Pittsburgh. at 3 p.m. Eastern for an afternoon showdown against the Big Bad Bees. 2 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time is the start time. Then on Sunday, March 2nd, it's the final battle of the Maple Leafs versus the Penguins at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's an afternoon matinee matchup at 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Call it the Night Owl Club if you will, but for at least 2 games of this mini 3-game road trip coming up for the Penguins, we will see the Penguins playing in nighttime action starting on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. We're at the end of February. So that's March the 4th, not February. March 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Avalanche. It's the Penguins from Denver, Colorado. The last game of the season against the Colorado Avalanche and Nathan McKinnon. And of course, you can't forget about the Vegas Golden Knights. That comes your way on Friday night. We will have episode 6 drop ahead of that game. Episode 6 of season 4 will drop ahead of that game. Get you ready for that game. The post-game show will come your way on Saturday as we set up what should be a good one against old buddy Marc-Andre Fleury and the Minnesota Wild. And speaking of Vegas, we're not done yet with Vegas. Right after we take on Vegas, in Vegas, Vegas is coming to Pittsburgh for what looks like a 5-game homestand coming up for the Penguins. Coming up. But the next 5 go as follows. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, both of these schedules for Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, they wrap it up in Pittsburgh for the Battle of Pennsylvania. We will have that for you on episode 5 of season 4 of the podcast. The Boston Bruins will be the next matchup for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they continue their season series with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, they will go to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. Then the Flames and the Jets both come into town. And of course, the Kraken as well coming into town as well on the Philadelphia Flyers side. Meanwhile, on the Penguins side, their 3-game homestand wraps up with the Maple Leafs coming into town for one final time. And of course, we see the Boston Bruins before the Maple Leafs coming into town for an afternoon showdown. Then it's Avalanche and Golden Knights. The final score once again for the Tuesday night game, as we brought up some of today's programs, some of today's games action from the MLB today on a Wednesday, February 26, 2025. And that included the Philadelphia Phillies knocking off the Toronto Blue Jays 9-6. The Pittsburgh Pirates playing in a split squad game, beating the Baltimore Orioles 7-3, while falling on the other side 9-4 to the Atlanta Braves. And of course, you can't forget about the Toronto Raptors action. Raptors fall to the Indiana Pacers 111-91. They'll be back in action on a split squad game for the Toronto Blue Jays on our final day of February 2025. That's February 28th, when the New York Yankees will take on the Toronto Blue Jays at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. After the Blue Jays' first split squad game features the Blue Jays and the Tigers. And speaking of the Toronto sports action, the Maple Leafs are at the Big Apple in Madison Square Garden. They will take on the Rangers. And meanwhile, the Bulls will host the Raptors. Lots of interesting content coming up. But that is going to do it for this episode of Penguins Postgame. Episode 5 of Season 4 approaches as we await the final score of Penguins and Flyers on Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Flyers and the Penguins. If the Flyers win, it's their 4th straight win. And the Penguins' losing streak continues. All we know for sure is that by the time this game is in the books, the Penguins, who have 22 games to go at the time of our recording, they will only have 21 games to go. We've played 60 games. Not a lot of time left for the Penguins to make a case for the wild card. But with 22 games left, a big win by the Penguins against the Flyers on Thursday night, as well as a win against Boston and a win against Toronto, could seal a good chance that the Penguins might have an opportunity, but the opportunity is closing, not to steal a line from the game Triple H, which is Paul Triple H Levesque. Shout out to Triple H, or Paul, I should say. But the clock is ticking, Penguin fans, and the clock is ticking not only on the Penguins season, but it is also ticking on our coverage of Penguins postgame. Our coverage of Penguins postgame comes in season format on Friday after the Battle of PA wraps up tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. My name is Scott McGregor. It has been an honor bringing you Penguins postgame show coverage. But once again, the Penguins fall 6-1, looking for better results tomorrow against the Flyers. We will talk to you Friday for the conclusion of the Battle of Pennsylvania on episode 5 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. And with that said, as always, let's go Pens. And as as Mike Lang would always say after every Penguins victory, even though the Penguins fell in this one, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. I hope Penguins fans, despite the outcomes, whether or not the Penguins end up drafting in the lottery a first-round draft pick next season, or find their way into the playoffs this year, that you are still smiling like butcher's dogs whenever the Penguins win. Because I'll tell you one thing, win or lose, as long as other things are going right in the sports world for the teams that we like, I'll be smiling like a butcher's dog no matter what the outcome. We'll talk to you after the Flyers and the Penguins battle on Thursday, because we will talk to you on Friday. That's it for this episode of Penguins Postgame. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it.